say a little something right now real quick and do just like I did in Ferguson. I'm going to get out these young people's way. It's four things that during the course of the night I'm going to speak about. Not all right now. It's for me the good, the bad, the ugly, and the funny. For now, I'm going to talk about the bad, which was my first day. It was the day before they arrived. My plane, I left out of here and went to the airport, and my plane was delayed immediately for 2 hours. Got where I was, and mind you now, I had already got this ticket maybe 2 weeks ahead of time. But the night before I'm leaving, another guy gets murdered over there. I didn't know how much that would change the situation. When I finally arrived in St. Louis that afternoon, about approximately 4 o'clock, 4:30, I called Daruba. Daruba is my direct connect. He's directly in the front line. And let me just say something about him because I have to. I understand that, like in basketball and baseball, you can't win unless the whole team is clicking. But you need to know there's always an MVP, and that is who he is. He is the MVP. There is no question out there on them front line. Anyway, I called him, and he said, I can't come get you. Just try to get here because we're going to ground zero. He said they murdered another one last night. I get in the cab. He told me, meet me at Shaw and Lim. I get in the cab. Cab is going. I got my luggage. And we're going all here and here. And then we finally get to Kings Highway. And we turn on Kings Highway. And now we see Shaw. And then the taxi cab guy say, which way on Shaw? Left or right? I looked over at their meter, it was $45. I said, you park it right here. I'll walk left or right. I said, you know, and I did. I got out and walked on down to the thing. And then when I got there, they was having a vigil. I had to throw my luggage in one of Tribe X's. It wasn't Tribe X's car. One of the Tribe X guys was driving somebody else's car. I threw my luggage in there, Druba threw his in there. I never could see my luggage for 2 days. That's why what makes this the bad. The ministers at the ground zero vigil was advocating let the system work and all this. So Daruba confronted them about this. And the minister acted like his name was Muhammad Ali. He started acting like he wanted to go toe-to-toe until all the young people that were around said, no, that brother's right. Y'all ain't representing us. We went in March up to Grand Avenue, and I'm talking about a main intersection. There was probably 150 of us. Stopped all traffic, had tractor trailers backing up, buses turning around. The police was acting like they was gonna stop us, but then when they seen we would, like it was early, we were being aggressive. When we would get up on them, they would speed off, no confrontation. And we marched from 7 o'clock that evening till probably 5 in the morning. But along the way, we stopped traffic a couple times. They pepper sprayed us at Arsenal and Grand. They had the tanks and everything out, helicopters. They had helicopters flashing these lights on us that for some reason, I swear to God, it ain't my imagination because everybody around me, when that ray hit us, it was like, it didn't make nobody fall, but it made you kind of like just unbalanced. And so it wasn't no regular flashlight. It was some experimentship. It didn't stop us. So as a result of that not stopping it, they pepper sprayed all of us. There was a couple people had bad reactions, had to go to the hospital. They arrested some people right there, and we got the water and all that working, and we went and took another corner. And then we came back to Arsenal and confronted them. And we wasn't moving. And then through Twitter, people knew what was going on. And like 300 or 400 more people came down there. And the bottom line is, in the end, at 4 o'clock, they backed up because we wasn't giving up. They backed up. We won that night. Yeah. We went in at 5. We went in at 5. The only reason we went at 5 o'clock is because it started raining real hard. But me, Daruba, and 2 other people were the very last people out there. And that was the bad for me. Now, there were some other people that were supposed to be coming. So I had to keep in touch with them. And I'm going into Friday now because I flew down on Thursday. And I'm going to let one of them come up here and tell you a little something about that day. Or all of them. Who's going next? Or what's the next on the agenda? Because I don't want to be standing up here just telling my whole thing right now.
Great, all right, sure. Talk about the car ride a little bit.
Yeah.
Reasons why to go.
Unfortunately, Adrian is still in the interview.
Hi, everyone. Is this on?
Yeah.
Hi. So my name is Makia. I am a U of R student, and I went down to Ferguson. I just wanted to give a little bit of an introduction. You want to say your name, maybe?
Oh, okay.
So you know.
My name is Anansa Benbow. I'm also a U of R student. I'm down to Ferguson.
Right.
I'm Natajah Roberts. I'm a former U of R student.
Awesome. So, we are part of B.L.A.C.K, Building Leadership and Community Knowledge. It's a grassroots Black activist collective that we started after the Mike Brown shooting and killing. And we all just, we were angry, as a lot of you are, and we wanted to do something about it, and we felt that there was a lack of Black activism and Black leadership in Rochester. And so we decided, let's just become organized people, Since then, we've done a couple different events. You might have seen, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. But these 2 right here, we came to their presentation on their time in Ferguson, closer to the shooting, and we were just so inspired. Rosemary and Ricardo just let us know, the media is lying. What they say is going on is not true. And the leaders of this are young Black youth. And it's like, people that you wouldn't even expect to be it, people that people that mainstream will not trust. These people have dedicated their lives to this, and they're, talking about how the revolution is different. And so that, us being young people, we're like, we want to just be with them, we want to support them. Hearing of all the things that the police department, their city government, just the media altogether is just doing to them, and just the character attacks and everything. So we really wanted to go down there. Just to talk a little bit about why I guess we went down there. I guess it just all kind of came together. We felt like we were going to have to pay for it ourselves, and it just seemed like everything worked out. I know probably a bunch of you in the room helped support us and our Indiegogo and everything, and really it went at very little cost to us as being students. So we were so thankful for that, and it really confirmed the fact that yes, we should be here. We drove down there, a very long car ride. In the car ride, just let you know, we had a couple of conversations, 2 really important conversations. One, we had a conversation about the relationship between men and women in our organization and on this trip. One of the things that I felt really strongly about was that, I wanted to make sure that although we're down here, that Adrian and we understood that I made the decision to come down here, and that I could make my own decisions. I don't know if Natajah, if you want to go into that a little bit more.
Yeah, also Adrian is downstairs. Someone wanted interview before the event, and so they're kind of distracted down there. So the car ride was a big bonding experience. I mean, just us being together consistently for so long has made us an entirely different group of people. But specifically in the car ride, we did have a conversation about men and women. We talked about media and film and just forms of representation. And we did get that sense from Adrian, who was the only male on the trip, of he was always kind of asking a lot of questions about, like, well, what would be better, or is that really that bad, or, how do you feel, why is this movie so problematic, why is everything so problematic? And he does care about feminism, but he does tend to ask a lot of questions, and a lot of times these conversations are emotional for us. Specifically, Makia, Adrian, and I have a lot of these conversations, and for us, they're really emotionally draining, and sometimes we just want to say, just believe me when I say that this affects me, or believe me when I say it is this way. Like, it's not my job to educate you all the time, and I don't have the emotional energy to educate you all the time. And so we ended that on a good note. But I wish Adrian was here to speak for himself, but he will mention this again later in the story.
It's really his story that he wanted to tell.
Yeah, it's really his story that he wanted to tell, and I'm kind of upset about who dragged him downstairs. But it comes up again later, that kind of relationship, and the need to kind of interrogate for yourself things that aren't necessarily affecting you. But another thing we talked about in the car was kind of what was our, like, procedure about going to jail, like about when we were going to protest, when we were going to say no, how we were going to do things. We'd already decided that Tonya, one of our members of the group, was also downstairs. It was her car that we drove, so we decided she would be the non-arrestable one of the group. If we decided to engage in an action and we knew we were going to be arrested, she was going to leave, which ended up working out perfectly, which was fantastic. But we had a conversation about, you know, if a cop attacks us or if it hits us. Adrian was saying, well, I'm not going to not fight back. Like, I'm not going to sit there as a cop hurts me and hits me. Like, I'm going to fight back. And I remember telling him specifically, there's no power in you fighting back, because if this cop hits you and you hit him back, he will shoot you and you will die. If you think you can hit him and you can run, he will shoot you in the back. I was very clear and very graphic with him in the car that if you hit him, if you try to hurt the cop, there's nothing you could do with your fists that could stop the gun that he has on him. And we had this argument for a really long time, and it then shifted to, if a cop were to hurt one of us, he said, I can't stand by and let you get hurt by a cop. I'm going to hurt him. I'm going to stop him. I'm going to grab him. And both of us, both me and Makia, because it was primarily a conversation between the three of us in the car, we said, no, you're not respecting my decisions. If I tell you, if a cop is hitting me, if a cop pepper sprays me, if a cop is beating me with a baton, do not intervene, because you intervening means you will get shot, and that is not my choice, and I will not live with that choice being made. So we had some pretty explicit conversations about what we would do once we were finally interacting with the cops, but it turns out in the end, those decisions were respected, which was wonderful, but our whole concept of what kind of actions we would get involved in and how we would deal with them were fairly naive. They changed pretty much overnight after what happened on Friday. And Noelle's not here.
So
I really
keep
would like
going.
to see.
Yeah, we'll just have to keep going.
Could we pause for a second and get them back up here? Because I think they're monopolizing their time.
Okay.
And they've really come to do that. Do you mind if we take a quick pause?
Can we just take a quick break for a moment?
Yeah. Let me tell you what was funny. Let me tell you the funny. Because the ugly scarred me, and it's like, that would probably be the last thing I would tell you today, because I really haven't been able to cope with that. I like break down emotionally. I mean, I was really scarred. The ugly is really the most ugliest thing that I've experienced. So that'll be the last thing we get to. But the good is so fantastic, you'll enjoy that as well. But let me tell you about the funny. So this brother named Yusef, we're leaving from the ugly. We're leaving from the ugly, going to an event that Cornell West was at, trying to kill some time. And we run into this guy, a live streamer, a well-known live streamer named Bassam, and we're walking, Bassam, and we're walking with him from the gas station to the place Cornell is at. And this other young brother, African brother, probably 27, probably even graduated, and this guy is really, really, really smart. And so he's talking about black history, science, police brutality. I mean, he's taking this conversation, and you could tell he's sharp and he's used to being the man when he's having a conversation. And everywhere he took this conversation, man, my brother Yusef, man, was like handling this business with him, man. I mean, really showing him just how much he didn't know. And the brother stopped. We all was walking. He looked at Yusef and said, "Are you an organization?" You know, it was just, you know, it was such a, you had to be there in that moment, man. He said, "Who are you? Are you an organization?" Because you just had to be there, man. It was like the only time I really got to laugh there, man. It was really, really funny. Probably because I was so exhausted. I probably had only about 11 hours sleep the whole 5 days I was there. And now we've finally been able to get them up, and let's continue.
Okay. So when we first got to St. Louis, we were originally going to stay at a co-op, a woman named Yvonne. We got there. It was really interesting because the part of the city we came through was huge houses and everything. We're like, oh, you know, maybe she made enough that she could just raise chickens. And then we drove for a little longer and we realized like, oh no, that's not the case. But as we're driving through and you're seeing the conditions, like the immediate switch, and just like we have here in Rochester, from really nice to really bad. And we got there, she had a garden, she had chickens, she had everything set up, and she was explaining to us the issue she's been fighting for a very long time. And there were issues about people having, accessibility to different energies, solar energy and things like that, because people were trying to warm their houses with their stove and dying from carbon monoxide poisoning and blowing themselves up, and like the food issues and everything. So it was really interesting meeting with her and her giving us that perspective, because once we left there, you can see brick townhouses with giant holes in the side, and you can literally see that explosion happening over and over again, and it's just rubble everywhere next to these houses. It's like, oh, you know, co-op or urban farm would be nice right here, but, you know, someone's house got blown up for that to happen. It just put everything kind of in perspective into what the city was like and what we're going into.
And then I was going to give it to Anansa to talk about, we ended up not staying with Yvonne because we just didn't feel like there would really be enough space for us. She did have multiple rooms, but we just weren't sure that we would have our own kind of personal space, because we knew we were going to be involved in a lot of kind of mentally, emotionally, physically exhausting things, and we wanted to make sure we felt we had another option for housing, so we wanted to check out the other one to see if there was a space that was better for our group. And Anansa had a really big experience with that.
So immediately after, we went to Karen House. Karen House is a homeless shelter for women. And we walked in right in their dinner hour, and immediately it was just love everywhere. You know, people, you know, were greeting us, they were saying hello, and we kind of said it's something that doesn't even happen at U of R. People don't greet you and say hello, we just kind of walk by. So we immediately come in after dinner time, and they're so just open to us being able to sit down with them and eat. We sit at tables, we have conversations with them. It was a really loving environment, and we were just welcomed into the family. And then I remember having actually, Tonya and I, we were talking to one of the ladies, and she was like talking to us about the way people up north speak and stuff, and then we ended up playing the hand game, like tweet baby, mom says she's rapping to the treetop. We ended up playing that game with them, and it was just like we were back at a playground, you know, with kids, and it was just a familial aspect that I feel like we don't see everywhere. And that's why we really decided to stay here. And then there was like kids running around, and these two little girls were just so cute, and they, at the time I had my hair in braids, and they kept just playing with my hair and pulling it and braiding it and trying to do all types of things and asking me all types of questions. That's one thing too. These kids were inquisitive. They asked Adrian where his mother was. That was hilarious. They were asking like what I do, you know, for fun, you know, why I came and all this stuff. And then at the same time, I'm sitting in kind of like their common area with another gentleman who happened to be a truck driver, and he said that, you know, he used to drive trucks through Rochester, so he kind of shared a bit of his story. And then two other ladies who were just there, we just had a nice conversation, we're kind of sharing our stories. And of course, we enter a space that's not yours. You know, people are going to ask you questions, you know, questions about your intentions. And so, you know, they asked me, you know, why did you guys come? You know, what do you plan to do here? And I said, we all have our individual reasons for coming, but one big reason is that we wanted to stand in solidarity with the youth that Ricardo and Rosemary were talking about. And then, you know, as far as our goals, you know, we came down here to really ride for these other youth, because the thing is, they are us,
but they're just in Ferguson. It's the only difference. And so then Natajah made a big decision that actually made a really big impact on our trip. Should we all sleep? So it's a women's shelter, and so the rooms are for women. Should each woman have her own nice, neat bed and have Adrian by himself, or should we be together? So she decided that we all sleep together, and that made a really big impact because, we're waking up in the morning together, going to sleep together, but we're sleeping on cots and, couches. We got, sheets rolled out. And it really became our space. We occupied that space. There was stuff everywhere, but it was just, I think that's all. But that's Adrian.
One of the things that were most beautiful to me, especially about the kids, was just one, they were so polite. Like they walked up to you and said, "Hi, my name is Marquise or Michael or whatever. What's your name?" And they had such incredible manners considering their circumstances. And I had my camera down there to take pictures, and I remember they were like, "Oh my God, can I take a picture? I want to take a picture of you guys," and this, that, and the third. And it just struck me back here where just how often our youth are so abandoned, where no one really wants to give them an opportunity or the time. And just, I only let him hold my camera for maybe 10 seconds because we were getting ready to walk out the door, but it's just that moment right there, his eyes lit up and he was like, "Oh my God, like, can I take more pictures? Can I do this?" And it's like, kids don't require a lot. I mean, they do, but they don't. They don't in the sense that all they need is a little bit of encouragement or you to show them for at least 10 seconds, 5 seconds that you care about them or that you are willing to invest your time and your energy into them, and that just changes their whole world and their whole perspective. So that's what really stuck out to me once we got to Karen's house.
Makia, why don't you talk about getting to the PD?
Oh, okay. All right, right. So after that, the first thing, we were trying to find Ricardo, right? We don't know where we are. We just was like, we're going to Ferguson. Rosemary Ricardo said, it's great. And then we're like, so we got a car and a GPS, a really great GPS app, by the way. And so we're like, so let's try and find Ricardo. Ricardo says he's going to be in Ferguson at the police department. So we, find the place. And we get there, and really, at first there's people out there, but first when you walk up, we can see people kind of in the parking lot, and automatically, everyone can tell that we're outsiders. You can just kind of feel it, or maybe it was just us, but we just kind of walked up, we were really awkward, we weren't really down yet, so we were just like, hi, just we don't know what to do here, and then someone gave me some gloves. She's like, "Hi, thank you for coming," and just started giving us all these things. And I was like, again, just the love that's in this area, just reminding us, you should be here. And then you start seeing, Nina and Mel. Nina and Mel. These are two youth from freedom fighters, I imagine, and they were leading a chant. Chant starts low, they start getting people start getting comfortable in it, and all of a sudden, slowly, the chant gets a lot bigger, a lot more people start coming. We start walking across the street, kind of blocking traffic a little bit, but it's the youth that are helping the traffic go through. The police are in front of their police station. They're not really lined up just yet, and they don't really seem to care that we're blocking the street, and that matters for later. And at some point, the police then decide, okay, now we're going to start getting, buffed up. We're all going to stand next to each other. And so some of the chants that we learned there, what was it?
Turn up, don't turn down.
Right. This one really matters because it's really important to know that this revolution is not like the civil rights movement. This revolution is led by children, by youth. And our youth love hip-hop culture. So hip-hop culture is all throughout this entire revolution. So our favorite chant is what? Is turn up, don't turn down, we do this for Mike Brown. So this is exactly. So everyone is dancing. Oh, sorry, guys. We're not going to be turning up right now, guys. We just want to let them know. So everyone's dancing, you know what I mean? So you would think that, I kind of expected it would be really sad, but it was actually really celebratory, and it just felt like a family. And the fact that these young women are leading it, and they're leading the entire crowd. After, we're marching, they're like, if they don't give us our shit, we're going to shut this shit down. It's another chant. And that's a really big aspect because it's like, we shut down the street. Now we are all in the street. All the people there, we're blocking off the street. No one is going in and out. The police still don't seem to care about that part. And we marched down Florissant. Right. We marched down, and it seems, and so like we marched down to West Florissant, and as we turned the corner, there was a crowd of young people running towards us. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so I mean, there was a weird like back and forth. They were trying to build up the energy, and they were trying to get people mobilized and kind of to go up to the police line and really confront them. But there wasn't totally a lot of direction at that point. People were energized, but I mean, to a certain degree. And at a certain point, we're marching down to West Florissant. We don't really know where we're going to. We know that there are police at the far ends of the block blocking things off, and we're marching towards them. And I'm wondering, like, I don't really know what we're doing, but I was so riled up at that point. I was in full force, like, fuck the police chants. Like, I kind of lost them for a second. I was kind of out of it. And we get to the corner where the police are, and I look to my left, and yeah, this huge group of people, which we later realized is Tribex, show up there, and the energy just exploded. That's when it became, there was no need for direction. Like, we just knew that what we were doing was decided collectively, but we were going to move forward. But what was really important was they had, and I didn't realize it at first, because we marched back to the police department, where that police line was. And as we're marching back, I see this giant, like, shining object. And they had, apparently protesters have been holding up mirrors to the police so that when they're in front of them, the police know what they look like. The police in riot gear, the police that are ready to pepper spray them, so they can see what they look like. But they had made a casket out of mirrors. And they had 4 men march it down the street and march it up to the police. And at that point, there were so many people that where we were in the crowd, we didn't see the interaction they must have had with the police, but they brought it directly to them. I think they burned some incense too, because we saw some smoke coming out of the crowd, and then eventually they took it away. But I think that mirror casket as not only a sign of what police can do, but the fact that they need to look at that casket and they need to see that they're responsible for that. They're responsible for every incidence of that. That was a really powerful moment and really great tactic in my mind.
And one of the things which was that stuck out to me a lot was that the people in Ferguson are pushed so far to the edge that they don't have time to talk. They don't have time to do this, that, or the third. It's like they are all on the same page with what needs to be done. And you know, we met up with that second group. It's like everybody knew we got our people. Turn back. We're going right back to the police department. And you know, we went up to them, and then at that point, the police were in full riot gear, and you know, they're chanting, and we're linking up and we're doing everything, and it was very interesting because then there was some point where I looked over to my left, and then there's the police chief on the roof just kind of being like an overseer, and it kind of brings you back to that slave narrative where, you know, all this stuff is happening, there's one overseer just kind of looking at stuff like that. So at that moment, I had inched my way to the front, and it's like, they were like, this is about to happen right here, right now. And we had so many conversations in the car, like what we aren't going to do, and like how we are going to not get arrested. So I told Natajah, my one key was like, if I ask anybody to hold my camera, you probably shouldn't take it. So I turned to Natajah and I said, here, take my camera. And she was about to, and she's like, nope, I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to take it. I'm like, damn. She walked away.
You will not find me.
But the energy there was just incredible. And then at one point they just wanted to, they said, wait guys, we need to go over to Shaw. Shaw is where Big Derek Myers was gunned down over there, so we ended up splitting off and then kind of going over there. And it was a little bit of we felt a little bit bad because there were lots of people on the front lines and they were ready to do whatever, and it's just, the group looked like what I felt from them was that they wanted that support. If we have all these people, we need all these people to be here, down for us at any moment, anytime, just to be here for us. So we felt some kind of way about that, but once we got over to Shaw Boulevard, that switched up a lot. And you know, we got there, they were already in a circle, and there was this powerful woman, it was Brittany, right? And she was letting everybody have it. She said, fight for your blackness. We don't, as black people, we don't have time to teach white people what our problems are, what our struggles are. Those are your jobs. The information is out there. If we learned it, if we woke up, you can too. And she said, it is not our job to do that for you. It is your job to go and figure this out, educate your people, and rally go to your politicians, and let them know that this is an issue. And it needs to come from you so we can take care of and heal our people. And protect our own, because we are dying day after day after day. And we ended up seeing Dante, and Dante, just to hear him, he's a Crip, correct?
No,
He used to be a gang member. But just to hear him say, man, F all that stuff, that is not what we're worried about. We're squashing all this beef, and this is the fight of our life right now. Not each other, that we are fighting systematic problems, and that is where everybody's on the same page. We are fighting the system that is oppressing our people. There are so many,
You know what you're saying.
oh yeah, his pain was crazy. It's just, who else wants to talk? 'Cause it's,
I'd love to talk about it.
come on, talk about that.
So the funny thing is, I didn't.
Introduce yourself.
Oh, hi everybody. I'm Rosemary Rivera. How are you? So the funny thing about it is that I got to have a really close relationship with Dante. So even though I wasn't there, like Dante called me the other day while he was in Chicago. He's been calling me like almost daily. I still have a really deep relationship with him, who has really, a young man who's basically figured out that he's a civil rights leader and that he's not going away, and that he wants to expand what they've started with the Lost Voices into every community, because every community has these problems and these issues. And he's like, we're speaking for all the lost voices that can't speak for themselves anymore, but there's lost voices everywhere. So I always tell him, but you're the found voice, right? And how are you going to get that out there? So the one thing that was interesting to me that he was telling me about, I guess we're going in order of days.
Yeah.
So Sunday, once you guys get to Sunday, I'd like to say something about Sunday. So I'll stop there for now.
We'll just move on, I guess.
Yeah, and let me just add one other thing about Friday before y'all showed up at the police station there. It actually was a method to that madness. When we first got there at the police station, we actually were all on the sidewalk. And the guy, Montega from OBS and them, they were out there making sure nobody came off the sidewalk, and the police was on the other side, you know, at the curb. And we were holding our ground there. And then we would go through some chants, and after a period of time, after probably 10 minutes, we took a couple steps up towards them, you know, and then we stayed right there. Then we took some more steps up towards them, really close to them. We didn't go up on the other sidewalk where they were at, but we went there, and then we marched. Now, when we marched down Fluorescent, we did a reverse. And when we did the reverse, when we came back, we went right up in there then. We went right up there to the confrontation. Sometimes you get caught up in the moment. I don't know, something about them young people, their style of doing something, you think they don't know what they're doing, and it just comes out like, everything come out smelling like roses. I swear to God. And so there was a method to that madness, and people had intended for civil disobedience there, but then people started back marching. They're figuring it out. Different people are shouting out stuff. You have a lot of people who ain't supposed to be in there, and they're trying to keep confusion. And that's what ended up happening. That's why there wasn't no confrontation there. But it ended up it worked out best again. You know, we got with Deruba, and basically from that point on to the end of the story, we was with Deruba. You know, I can't say his name enough. Every time I get up here, I'm going to say it, man. He's something special.
So we went from the police department, and then we went to Shaw. We heard Brittany speak, we heard Dante speak. And when we get there, there's already a circle, like a loose circle around what they call Ground Zero, which is Von Derrick's memorial, which is like on the tree lawn in front of a house. And so we're in this loose circle, we're joining in, more people are showing up, because they tell people by word of mouth, or they tell people by Twitter, like, when to be at what place. So people slowly are coming in. And these people are speaking, and people are getting riled up, and the circle gets bigger and bigger. And then they start to really address us and say, like, are you guys going to be involved in this? Are you guys ready to do something? Are we going to stand together? You need to put your fist in the air if you're ready to do whatever it takes tonight. And the funny thing is, we had all, like, not been entirely sure before about, like, we need to make collective decisions, we need to step aside, we need to talk about things, like, we need to do this, we need to do that. But in that moment, I think every one of us, well, maybe not every one of us, most of us raised our hand instinctively. We felt it. We knew what we needed to do. And then we held back and we all kind of looked for each other to confirm, because we did want to protect our group. But then we looked around and we confirmed that we wanted to do it. But actually, Anansa has a different story.
So, you know, we all raised our fists. Reasons were a little bit different. To be honest, my reason was I didn't want to be the one out of the group to bitch out. You know, like, we're all down here, like, we're all ready to fight. Because, you know, in my heart, I was also ready to fight. But I didn't necessarily know what that entailed. And so, but the thing is, later on, everyone's like, you know, that probably wasn't a good idea. You probably should have said if you were uncomfortable. But the thing was, I didn't want to be the one to stop the group from doing something great. We all came down here on a mission. We talked about our mission in the car. And if the group was down, then that meant I was down. And that's really it. But as we're getting out there, you know, so then, Look, I keep going. Yes. So then we're marching up Shaw, and it's kind of like, you're kind of like walking up like a slow hill. So we're up there, you know, where...
Well, they specifically told us they wanted us to march in, I don't even know if we need that microphone.
Lines of 6.
Marching in lines of 6 and have men on the outside.
Yes, men outside, women inside. And then this is when Adrian actually says, take my camera. And I'm like, no. He's like, no, I'm on the outside. This is for, like, the safety of my camera. So I'm like, okay, this is different. And the thing is different and what's different is we're linked up. So I'm not about to let Adrian go nowhere, because then, you know, that's me on the outside. And y'all know, I don't want to be on the outside. But yeah, so, like, we're already linked up. So I'm not about to let Adrian go. And so we're walking up, you know, we're chanting, we're really motivated. We get to the intersection, and we see that the street is completely blocked off by police, and I'm not sure about how many were there. Like, about how many of us were there?
Oh, of us, there were over 100.
Okay.
There were about 100 of us.
But there was so many police. How many police were there? Maybe like 300. There was a ridiculous amount. Like throughout the rest of the trip, we never saw this many police at any event or any action that we went to. There was police on the left side, on the right side. The big tank thing was already there, yelling down at us, like, you know, this is, you know, illegal. They had vans on top of vans and cars. Yeah.
Vans on vans. No, the thing was, like, when I looked out there, I swear it was like it was just a shade of blue everywhere. The amount of cars.
They were in riot gear.
Right. The lights and the helicopters. I just was like, what did we just walk into? Because it was dark when we were walking, and we were like getting ourselves together. We're chanting, you know, we're ready for y'all. And that chant was really strong when we was in the dark. When we got to the blue lights, everybody, we were still chanting, but it got really, really low, like, we're ready. Like, because they're just like, they were ready for us.
They were.
And we had no idea what we were getting ourselves into. I just wanted to say.
When we got up there, you know, the cops started beating on beating the batons on their shields to the beat of what we were going to, and it's just like, that was our first glimpse of what was really happening down there. Like, we had, at least for me, I was under the assumption that all that stuff had left, what the National Guard had left like a month ago. They didn't have any more tanks. They didn't have riot gear. That's not what we saw when we were at the police station. And then once we got up there, it's just like, oh shit! Like, this is real, and we came to the middle of the street and we sat down, and I just thought in my mind, I said, we are about to get the ass whooping of our lives. But I was like, this is what we signed up for. This is what we agreed to, and I'm just like, I'm still in shock of, like, you have all these. We had way more people over by the police station, and none of this was present. But there's something about us being in St. Louis. I would say it's the difference between us marching on Genesee Street versus marching in Pittsburgh. So it's good if you're marching in your own neighborhood about to fuck up your own stuff, but you ain't gonna come into our neighborhood and start messing up our stuff. And mind you, this was a peaceful march anyway. We had no intention of messing up anybody's stuff, but the police were ready to mess us up.
So, yeah, and I think some people felt like I think, Makia, you were saying, like, your stomach dropped. Like, you felt pretty...
I was terrified. They told us that we're all going to sit in the street. So we're all sitting in the street, and the tank is already big. So we are looking up, and they're yelling at us through this loudspeaker. And I sat there in this moment now. we had done our little research. We knew like to have the bandanas with the apple cider vinegar for the tear gas.
To have the antacid and water.
We had the antacid and the water and the milk. Make sure so that when they...
Thank you to Jake Allen.
Yes.
This is our medic right here.
Right.
Through Jake
So
Allen.
we had the stuff prepared. We had in our backpacks. You know, we were like ready, but we weren't. And I sat there and I was like, and the whole idea is that when you link up, you are accountable for the person next to you. You know what I mean? It's not, it's true solidarity. So there was the whole thing of that you don't, like, if you can, you don't let go. And so I just kind of pictured them just throwing pepper spray on us, and I was just trying to mentally get myself ready for that. That they're going to pepper spray me, and I need to sit through it. Because Natajah said that students get pepper sprayed, and they sit through it, so I'm like, I'm going to sit through it. I was like, fine then.
I did give a little bit of a, like, pep talk before, because I think I had the feeling that, like, we weren't sure whether, like, when we get hurt, like, what do you do? And I mean, I envisioned us sitting in the middle of the street and them using pepper spray to make us disperse, and then they were going to grab us and they were going to treat us any way they wanted to. Like, that's grounds for any of the rest of the group getting killed if we're all to disperse. And I was actually really frustrated when we were going up the street because there were people who hadn't put up their fist in an earnest yes and who had marched alongside us. So they were following us on the side of the street. There's a lot of independent media, which we're glad they're there, but they didn't understand the severity of the situation. And we were linked up tight in groups of 6. And there were people in the middle of our lines kind of preventing us from staying near each other. And towards the end of it, I was very frank with people that they needed to get out of my way because I needed to protect the people around me. But when we got up to that corner where she felt fear, I just saw, it was like being in a movie. Like, it really felt like, one of the chants they like we say is like they think it's a game, they think it's a joke. Yeah. And at that point, I realized they really think it's a game. Like, these serious, the fact that you would put that many police officers with shields and helmets and batons that would just stand there and literally, like, the street is this wide, the police were there when we got up to the end of it. Like, they were closing us in. We were in a box. And the fact that I didn't even feel fear, I just felt total disbelief that this is the game that they're playing with people who just want Darren Wilson indicted, who literally just want one man to be responsible for his actions. This is what they're going to do. And that's why I didn't even feel fear, because I was just so astounded at what would happen. But anyway, so we sat down in the middle of the street, and we were still at the stage where we weren't totally cohesive, and there were some mixed directions, which later we realized was a good decision on the part of the organizers. They had kind of realized, I think they probably realized the resources they had, the numbers they had, and that we would have been beaten by the cops. Like, that wouldn't have ended well for anyone. We didn't have enough people. So we were told to get back up, and we got on the sidewalk.
We didn't have enough white people.
We also did not have enough white people. It was really the reality of it. We didn't have enough out-of-town white college students to protect us, because it was a lot of kids who live in St. Louis and a lot of black kids who came down there for certain reasons, and the force they would have shown would have been entirely different, and people could have been killed. So we ended up getting on the sidewalk. We stay on the sidewalk, and the organizers are in the street giving us explicit directions to stay on the sidewalk so that we can peacefully march down the sidewalk. And before we left, I remember there were a lot of things said, but something I remember is them saying, like, we're not playing cat and mouse with the police. Like, we're not going to do this. We're going to hold our ground. We're going to do this. But they made a conscious decision for the protection of the group that we weren't going to do that kind of civil disobedience. We weren't going to occupy the street just then. And so it did turn into cat and mouse with the police. We marched, like, probably 10 or more blocks down the street, and they're yelling at us to stay on the sidewalk, and they're so rude. What did they say to us? Like,
they were just poking at us the whole time. Like, he's literally in his huge tank. Like, thank you for your cooperation.
Thank you for
Please
staying on the sidewalk.
Continue on. But they're, like, marching next to us. There's a whole police parade marching in the middle of the street next to us. But he, like, has asshole.
Shut down the street.
Right, you're occupying the street. We're not. We're just walking down the street. But it's like the whole time he thought it was a joke. He really did, and he was the type of person where that's how the whole thing blows up, because someone throws a rock at him, and then everything goes bad. Because he just continued on, and it was just like, it was great the next day when we ended up not listening to him, to just kind of put it back in his face, like, yeah, fuck you. So we did it anyway. So. Yeah, they were antagonizing. It was good to leave that night. Like, once that was over, I was glad that night was over.
So the next day.
Yeah, I don't know who wants to talk about that.
Let's let them talk. We've been talking for a while.
I just want to say it's important to note that the night before, what the police were protecting is where we had stopped all traffic for like an hour and a half the night before. That was the first stronghold that we had taken over. And so trying to think ahead, they said, we're not giving this up. And that's why they were there like that. They can go anywhere, but they're not gonna get this stronghold here again. You know, thinking that was gonna stop the show. I think it was important.
So just to put this all into context a little bit, I mean, this panel I think is called "The Whole Damn System is Guilty." When we decided to do this march, I was down there, like when they were deciding to put this whole convergence together. One of the things that's really important to note is that the date was important. October, the mid-October was really important because that's when they were going to come down with the decision. Think about it, with the decision on whether or not Darren Wilson was going to be indicted or not. I take it that once they found out that this convergence was happening, they've moved that date to January. So for those of you who aren't aware of that, that's the reason this convergence really happened in the beginning. I just wanted to clarify.
And I would also say that the Cardinals are in the playoffs.
No, they're out.
We're talking about
Yes.
but I think that's a much larger issue, and we'll get to that. Actually, that occurred the next day when we actually realized what was really going on and what was important.
Yeah, I was going to give it to Anansa to talk about when we got to that rally, because there's that great picture of you.
Okay, so we got to this rally, and the whole time, like Ricardo said, we were with Deruba, we were with Tribex the whole time, like the young leaders out there. We get here, and the vibe is different, right? So the whole time we're being told, don't march in the street, don't march in the street. One, we're in the street. Two, the police is kind of like leading the march, like they're in the front, and then they're also behind, and then there's like guys on the side saying, stay in the street, don't get in the sidewalks. So we're like, this vibe is completely different. This is an organized thing at 11 o'clock in the afternoon to be put on TV. Exactly, in front of the Justice Center, to be put on TV saying, look at all this great work going on, right? So we get there, late, of course. And then we find Tribex and them, and then Ricardo get there late. Oh my God. And then they're in the back, right? And so the whole time I'm just like kind of in limbo because, and it's a really nice picture, we don't have it, but I'm just like behind the protest, turned around, looking at Tribex, looking at Black, looking at my people like, where are we at? Are we not, like what are we doing? And so at the time though, this is when Tribex had said, we're gonna go all the way to the front and occupy. So I'm like, yo, I'm sitting there kind of waiting like, yo, when are we going to the front? But at the same time, it was like, I don't want to be involved. To be honest, I didn't want to be kind of involved in that scene. I want to be with my own people who I knew had my back the night before and didn't have my back the next night.
When we were, when Natajah and I were walking, we had walked up because we ended up talking to some reporter guy or something. But then we were walking up looking through the march, and I remember as we were walking up, there were just so many people. The march was very disconjointed as far as what people were chanting, what people were there for, and it's just like there are so many people here pushing their own agendas that like that's part of the fact that it wasn't authentic. Like we all weren't on the same page like we were the last night. Last night everybody knew what we were there for, what we were chanting, what we were going to do, everything. Everybody was there for this rights and that right and this cause and that cause, and it's just like I understand we're all together, we're all facing this problem, but we're not coming to them with 80 different problems as 200,000 people or whatever. We're coming to them as 200,000 people with one issue. And that's the effectiveness, and it just got broken up, and I wasn't really feeling it, just like they weren't feeling it. And it's funny because then afterward, when we had ended up coming back around there, like 2 hours later, it had looked like nothing had ever happened. They cleaned that thing up so fast, so quick. All the porta potties was gone, all the trash, any trash that there was St. Louis. And the Cardinals game was happening at 6. This march was at 11. They had a good hour that they just cleaned it all up, and you would have never known.
So before we get to the Cardinals game, just wanted to talk a little bit about after we left that rally, we talked to Deruba. They said that they were going to protest at the Cardinals game late afternoon. So we had to get something to eat because we realized we slept for 4 hours. We wanted to see if we can get some sleep. So we went over. We were trying to go to Black-owned businesses. Went to Jaden's Diner. Really great food. And then we were about to go home, go to sleep. And then someone realized we haven't been to the memorial yet. We haven't gone to see Mike Brown memorial. So then at that point, we wasn't going to sleep. And, Anansa and I, Anansa's driving out in the front seat, when we turn off the expressway, my heart drops. I have never seen the entrance to this area before, but it didn't, like, I knew where we were. I knew what it was. I turned off the GPS. We knew exactly where we were going. And my aunt is very spiritual, and I said, you know, I feel like you can feel the energy in this area. Like, I could have told that something happened here. And, you know, Mike Brown's killing, but also the people, they're protesting, everything that happened in this space. So we drive up there, and one of us described it as it felt like you were kind of in a little toy town. Yep, go ahead.
I was going to say, I mean, it felt, so Adrian and I, we had tried to stay asleep. Part of why we wanted to go get sleep is we'd been running around a lot, and this was the first time we got to go to the memorial. We had enough time, and I really tried to stay awake because I wanted the experience of going to it, and we both ended up falling asleep in the back seat. And so I woke up, and we had pulled into the parking lot. So Canfield is a street in Ferguson. It's a very small 2-lane street, and Canfield, I think they're called apartments.
Canfield Court?
Canfield Court.
It's similar to Norton Village. It's set up the same way as Norton.
So there's you know, different apartment buildings, you call them the projects, on both sides of the street. There's parking lots. We pull into one of the parking lots, and I wake up, and it's like the lighting is different. It's like the time was different. Like it felt like artificial lighting, and I got out of the car, and like the buildings were all like this beigey brown, and they all look very similar. And what's important is I never watched us come into this place. I woke up in this space. And as we get out of the car, to my right, there's a road that curves this way, and to my left, there's a road that curves that way. So really, you can't look down the street. You can't see where the street ends. You're just there. And I said it felt like a toy town because it felt like someone just put these houses in this space. And I felt like if I were to try and walk, because I honestly walked and saw the memorial, and the first place I stopped, I didn't move for the next, 15 minutes. I just couldn't move. But I felt if I could have made myself walk out this way, that I would have just come back in this way. It just didn't feel real. It just felt like an artificial space, I guess. But
I mean, because, you know, as you all, we've been watching the media, the mainstream media, looking at the pictures of Ferguson, of Mike Brown, specifically. I remember the picture of his body that they let sit out there for hours. So when we got there, that's all I kept thinking about. We all had our own different experience. I was sobbing, and I just started crying. My thing was two things. One, I didn't understand, and I'm still having trouble understanding, and someone can help me with this, how you can look at a young man and see them as, not as a human, see them as they don't have a right to live. I didn't understand how so many different things in our system, that this entire system creates this, and it takes away the humanity of people. And I was just such at a loss that that this happens to people, and they become like this, and they hate people, and they raise children, and they create businesses, and they do things, and they act on these feelings. And I just felt like these feelings are so not, I don't believe that that is a part of humanity for me. And so that, I was crying for that. And I was just like, what if we just, and so I just couldn't get it. I was like, how do I keep moving on? You know, you see everything in the memorial, people, teddy bears, pictures, everything. Someone can talk about what's written on the ground, because I don't actually remember. One thing is, okay, you remember it?
Yeah, so the memorial is basically, it's the same as all the memorials we have in Rochester, you know, with the teddy bears and the bottles. It's just that it's huge, and it literally takes up the whole middle of the street. All the cars go around it, everything's detoured around it. They have another one on the sidewalk, but it's enormous, and there's like spots in the street. You can see there's still blood in the street, and they've spray painted on the street, "I Am Legend," on both sides of the street, and Mike Brown, "We Love You," on the street. Now, "I Am Legend" really resonated with me, because I was saying before we even got there, like, 20 years from now, this isn't going to be Canfield, it's going to be Mike Brown Boulevard. And that's literally what it feels like right now. When you come down, it's Mike Brown Boulevard. And for me, it was really hard. The main reason for coming down here was, going down there, I'm a mother, I have 2 sons, and it just really touched me because black boys, black men are dying all over the country, and I don't want to be, you know, Trayvon Martin's mother. I don't want to be one of those mothers who are, you know, dragged out on TV, and you have to cry in front of the cameras. I just don't want to go through that. And so we're out there, and we're looking at it, and as we get out, another, like, group gets out, and they have these 2 children with them, and it's 2 boys, and they're a little bigger than mine, but one's clearly bigger than the other. So me personally, I didn't want to go and take any pictures. I just kind of felt like it was hollow ground, and it was just the mood there was so deep. I didn't want to disrespect that or disturb that. But they went, and she had her sons or her grandson standing right in front and do the hands up thing, and it just broke me. Like, immediately, I couldn't even stand there anymore. It was just crushing, because it brought it all back to you. Just like she was saying, you don't even see the memorial there. Then you literally see his body laying in the street as they're doing that. And you imagine someone just laying there with their hands up. And that's why I said it's kind of like Norton Village, because it's literally everybody's front yard and everybody's backyard at the same time. And they left them out there in the middle for 4 hours, like kids coming home, and everybody sees this. This is now a part of their lives. And a tour bus came right after we came, and people got out, and you could hear some of the people around there, like, what is this, a tourist trap? And it's like, that's what makes it even worse. Like, people are looking at this as just a tourist stop when this man lost his life. This lady, she lost her son, they lost their son, this is somebody's brother, cousin, and he's gone. And it was just really to see that, and that's, it happens every day across the country, and it's sad each and every time, and it doesn't take anything, make it one more important than the other, but just to see the just complete disregard. And it's not even, to me, I don't even see it as racism. Like, you don't even see them as a person. And that Black Lives Matter thing really comes into play there, because his life didn't matter at all. Like, you didn't see him at all. He's not a spirit. He's not a soul, anything. You just saw him as just an object to leave out there. And it was real profound. It brought it together.
Yeah, and they were talking about at the same time, I think it's important for me to know that Tribex did not march in that big rally, the co-opted rally. They did not. I was busy trying to get a rental car, which didn't work out. But then when I came back, we stood on the side with Tribex. They did not march in the alley, and I hope I don't hurt nobody's feelings with what I said. Because I'm trying to find out what the Ruben and them going to do. We're going to do something. We ain't going to just stand here. And he said, no, we're going to go to a Cardinals game. And I'm like, nah, that's some kumbaya stuff. I ain't really with it. But when I first came in, I'm staying with the Ruben, because the first night I don't have houses. So he's staying with somebody. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. We get there. He's staying with a lady, another guy, 2 dogs, lady in blue, and his girl who's pregnant. And I'm staying there now, all in one motel room. He got maybe an hour sleep that night and an hour sleep Friday. Now this is Saturday. So I said, I know he's tired. I'm going to go head on. And I respect his decision because he has character. And what showed me he had character is when I left, they was trying to give him a stipend, one of the organizations. And they was giving them $400 a week. It's an organization, and it's important to this crowd that they hear this. That has an umbrella organization over them. So they're going to give them $400 a week to do this, and supposed to bring the community together and do other things, fight for 15 and all this here. But the fact is, it was too hypocritical to him, because you got me fighting for 15 and you giving me $10 an hour. You giving me $10 an hour, but you got me fighting for 15. And he had too much principle. I'm just saying, and he let them go. The man homeless, he need every dime he can get, but he was principled enough. So I said, I'm going to listen to him and go over here to this Cardinal stuff, because I don't have a ride. And I can't get up with Natasha and them. I ain't hooked up with them yet. And so then we go to the Cardinals game.
Can I ask how we're doing on time? Just so you know.
That's what I'm trying to.
So right now.
8:20.
Yeah.
Okay, so. Okay, so it's Saturday. Yeah, we left the memorial. We went to the Cardinals game, and I kind of wanted to talk about it first because we walked into. This was the scariest part of the trip for me. And not everybody feels that way, but walking into the Cardinals game for what we did, I don't know if anybody can see that. was actually the scariest thing for me. Cardinals fans are predominantly white. It was the middle of the playoffs. Everyone was wearing red. Everyone was very much actively supporting the game. And so we're walking into this space so people could kind of wander between bars and the street, and we're drinking. And I was very hyper aware of that because we knew we were going there to do a protest somewhere outside of the game. The Cardinals Stadium, you can go into the stadium, but there's kind of a village of other bars and restaurants nearby, and just places to sit and just to walk around and drink and just be around. And so we went into that village area, and that was where we were going to protest. And people were already there, so we're trying to find them. And as soon as I walked into the space, knowing that, I don't know if they're pushing.
Just keep on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, oh, we're not going to talk about the Cardinals game?
No, we're not going to talk about the bars and the parking around it.
Basically, I was just going to say that I was terrified. I knew that I was surrounded by a lot of drunk white men who were not ready to hear what I was about to say, and it ended up being exactly that. It ended up being very aggressive.
Right. Just like one quick story about the Cardinals game. As you can see, we're lined up. Adrian's taking pictures, and so the youth are directing people to the game as we're chanting Black Lives Matter. While you watch the game while our people die. One young man who's drunk, about to go to the game, tailgating, all kinds of stuff, he walks by and he starts hearing our chants, and he looks disgusted, and he stops, and he's, as you can see, he's like kind of where this woman is on that side right there, so right in front of us, and I can see everything churning in his head, and he is just like, I can see he's just like, how dare they stay here in my space and talk about this, and his girlfriend is trying to get him to come, and he's just like shaking her off, and he's just staring in my eyes, and I realize, I'm like, this man is gonna hit me. Like, he's really strong, you can see it, he's really drunk, and he is so mad at me right now. And he is not being shooken by any of his friends. And I don't know, I'm trying to talk to people, and I guess I'm not being loud enough, because no one can hear me, and it was just so much fear. And that was a moment when, you know, you realize, like, these people are really out here. That these kids are really in danger out here. So yeah, and so that was just the story that we had there. One other thing was, if you guys saw the flyer, that it said your silence upholds oppression, and that was a big deal for us, of getting to the white people at this game to let them know that just because they may not be outwardly racist, the fact that they are not speaking on this topic is condoning and upholding oppression.
I have to go here. I have to go here because we're at the Cardinals game, and this is the ugly for me. Everybody looks at things different. They weren't there when we agreed to go there. We sat down at the end of the other march, and we said how it would have to go if we did go to this Cardinal game. They said we would have to go, put a memorial down. We all took flowers from the park where that co-opted rally started. So we all had a flower or two. And the main thing is, prior to that, a week before they had went there, and people had got spit on, cigarette butts shot at them, but they had went weak. They had went with maybe a dozen people. I told Daruba again and again, I said, man, I ain't with that. I ain't with that type of playing the game, letting people do that type of stuff. He said, no, it's important. It was important to him. So we got there, and he said we're going to have our white allies be the buffer this time. If somebody gets spit on, you know, it'll be them to keep us from losing our cool. As soon as we got there, some of them drunk, can't give them that excuse as being drunk. Some of the white fans started saying something bad to Daruba. In Daruba, I could see the body language, it was going out. So I had to run over there and tell him, I said, motherfucker, you told me not to say nothing, and you saying something? I said, you don't want to get me started. And it calmed him down. It calmed him down, but what it also did is it locked me in. Now I done told him he's got to be the role model, but I've locked myself in. So I get back behind we had a cushion of white allies. And they calling me niggas and all that. They ain't saying it specific to me. They just saying it to all of us. But I'm taking it all personal because that's my issue. And I ain't never been to not say nothing. I'm not some violent. I don't want you to think I'm some violent person. I'm gonna shoot them or stab them. But I'd at least would have been talking about they stinking ass mama. For real, for real. I would have needed to do this. And I would have been all right. I would have been all right. They ugly wife for anything. But to say nothing, I've been to prison. I ain't never let a guard say nothing. I've always exercised my freedom of speech. I might get beat down, but I've never, ever in my life had to keep it in. And it's still, I almost feel like I've been raped. I don't know how that feels, but in my mind, when I think of the people who went in them restaurants back in the days that said no colors, and they were trained to not say anything, I used to always in my imagination think I could imagine what they felt. My imagination did not reach the actual experience, man. That was, I'm still scarred from that, man. I'm still, that's just a tough one. And for me, that was the ugliest stuff that I experienced, not in Ferguson, in my life.
And to kind of go off of what Ricardo said real quick is just that, to emphasize the clear difference between the two movements that were going on down there. The movements that we were in, that with Daruba and everyone like that put us in real danger, and it tested us like we have never been tested before. Like one of the pictures here from earlier today, real quick, is just how this looked like a paparazzi fest. Like you would have swore Beyonce walked down the street or something like that. The amount of cameras that they had there. This is at the rally in the morning before we went to the Cardinals games, and it just felt like we were some kind of spectacle. Like this was something for them. Like, oh my God, and it goes to the fact that so many people are making money or they're making their name off of other people's suffering. But at that Cardinals game, that was something totally different. That was just...
There was a guy from NBC there, and I've never seen anything about it. There was a guy from NBC videotaped the whole thing, followed us when we marched out. We had to convince him to turn his stuff off later, and he wasn't. Yeah, there's no coverage of the Cardinals game. We've seen nothing.
Yeah, I mean, how did we get from the Cardinals game to...
We marched out.
We went to Popeyes.
Oh, we did. We got dinner. We had to get dinner.
Yeah.
We had a break, and we were supposed to meet people over at Ground Zero again. This is Shaw, where Friday night we ended up interacting with the police. And I don't know who wants to start talking about that.
Neil.
Well, we got there at our time.
Really?
9:45-ish. But it was cool because it was just us at first. It was us and maybe one other group, and then 2 or 3 other groups. And it wasn't like the night before when the big circle happened. It was just everyone kind of was doing their own thing, and it was blocked off. And that's another big point. When we went over the first night to Shaw, they had roadblocks in place, but they let us through. And the second night, we got over there earlier than the roadblocks took place, but they ended up being blocked off. So what happened was they put it out on Twitter that it was blocked off and gave different directions for people to come. And it was actually amazing to just sit and watch the people just trickling. You look, because it was so foggy the whole time. The weather was perfect for a revolution. It was foggy, it was rainy, it was just that kind of night. And you could just see people coming down the street kind of one at a time and just trickling in and over. It was over, it ended up being over, it was over like 500 people out there. Yeah. Over 500 people. Initially, the idea was for us to all come together and decide that we did want to move on this action. But he got on the loud horn and so 1:10, we're going to move out. So then we look around like, really? it's 1 o'clock in the morning, because like again, we got there at 9:45 and we had just been standing there ever since. But you start interacting and making friends, and why are you here? Where are you from? You don't even realize that 4 hours have gone by and you're standing on your feet this whole time. So that happened and everyone filled up, and it just basically the march began. They gave us those same instructions. We all linked up. And something I really loved was they had the men on the outside, women on the inside, and they made a point of that, like, we're going to protect our ladies out here. And that was a beautiful point. And most people didn't know where they were going because we made a point to meet with Tribex, meet with Aruba, meet with the people who were on that grassroots level. They did let us know, what the plan was. And it actually made us feel great because they asked for our opinion. So it's not just that they accepted us being there. They accepted us being there and they valued what we thought. They did want to hear what we had to say. And at the end of the whole thing, it actually really felt like it's not even feel like, that's my family. It's lifelong bonds there. I can't wait to be back there. But they asked us and we began to march, and it was way more people than we had the night before. From the march earlier, you got a lot of people from that march. And those people were expecting that same kind of march that we had earlier that day, where the police just lagged behind or lagged in front. There was no sort of interaction. But kind of foreshadowing of that, you could see where they had it blocked off. Like, you start walking down, you see those blue lights all the way at the end. Like, okay, can't go that way, can't go that way. And people... It was just a lot of love because it was those same group from earlier, that giant group, but this time we were all together with that die-hard group from the night before. And we marched for, it's 2 miles. It didn't seem like 2 miles because you're just so amped up and all the chants and everything, but I'm going to say at about 1.5 miles, I started to realize that we had been walking for a while. And once we finally got there, and the Quick Trip gas station, it's down in kind of like a gully, so you're at the top of the hill and you're looking down like, oh, okay, well this is it, and it's like we're...
Do you want to explain why it was the Quick Trip?
Okay, so the Quick Trip is synonymous with the whole story. Yeah, it's because Quick Trip was the gas station where Mike Brown was originally at when the phone call went out that everything took place, and it's also owned by Halliburton, which makes people not like it even more. So that was the gist of it. And once you got down there, we had the 4.5 minutes of silence. And that was for the 4.5 hours that they left his body laying out there. And that was really strong. You don't have that picture. It's literally the police have everything blocked in. At a war standpoint, that was the worst gas station to be at. Because there was no way out once we got in there because how it was down. They literally had it surrounded. But everyone stood strong, and it was a beautiful thing to see, and we just stood there for the 4 minutes, and you're lined up against the police with their riot shields, and then again they brought that tank out. We did have a small moment of victory, because when we first got there was just one police car, and as we approached it, turned the sirens on immediately and ran off, so everyone got a lot of energy from that, but like 30 more came, so appreciate it, but yeah.
Oh yeah. So a powerful moment we had. It started at the Mike Brown Memorial, and it was like after we left, it was no holds barred. Like, we abandoned any kind of plan we had in the car. We just said we didn't abandon the whole plan. The plan was Noel could not get arrested. That was the one thing we agreed on, the one thing we could stick to. But we said we're here to support them, and we're here to do whatever it takes to make sure Darren Wilson gets indicted. So we made a decision, and we said we're going to hold to it and stand to it. And this is just kind of a video of.
Let Noel talk because she's
Oh, okay.
like any last moment thing she has to say.
Oh, you have to go ahead.
So the mom thing is calling, and I have to go home now. So I do just want to mention that when they all got arrested, the plan was for me not to get arrested, but someone else had the keys. So without that, I ended up just kind of lost out in the city. But the fact was, I wasn't lost because I linked up with everybody that was there, and they took care of me. Like, it was so much love. It didn't even matter that the people I came down with were gone. It was because they gave me the lawyer number. I got all of their birthdays. They made sure I had all of them taken care of. They made sure I had a ride in the morning to get to the jail where they were at. They made sure I got home safely. Literally, I have at least 9 people in my phone that have STL after them, so I know who they are because that night they were on it, and it was great. I mean, my truck was left out for the night, but it was okay. So it's just that, and then just coming together and the amount of love that was shown out there was a beautiful thing, and I wish I could stay for this whole thing, but it's bedtime and I must go. So it was nice meeting everyone. Have a good night.
So it's one thing to kind of hear us talking about this, but it's another thing entirely to kind of see this firsthand. So we have like some compilation of some footage of Friday night, of Saturday night, and of some of the Tribex members speaking.
That's the sound of the police. That's the sound of the beast. That's the sound of the police. That's the sound of the beast. That's the sound of the police. That's the sound of the beast. Who do you protect? Who do you serve? 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 Who do you protect? Who do you serve?
The county of St. Louis is made up of 93 municipalities. We would see several of those 10 to 15 of the municipalities coming together. So that's like an army of police. We faced that. We faced the armored trucks. They look kind of like half tank, half UPS trucks. They're equipped with tear gas cannons, assault rifles are in the inside. They have the machine gun, not machine gun, but the shotgun bean bags, tear gas, like you said, CS gas, flash bangs, noise grenades, dogs, assault rifles to the face. Yeah, we've been
undercover police.
Undercover police, drive-bys done by officers in police cars, in the tanks, in unmarked cars. Yeah, shooting tear gas out of windows. We literally drive by tear gassings by the police, pulling up on the side of us, turning it sideways, shooting tear gas and going back the other way, and another one coming. So, and that was just in Ferguson till we get here to the city. In the most recent days, their tactics have been stomping on the ground, everybody in riot gear. Once again, the armored truck on Friday night or Saturday when we went to Quick Trip. We at the very end we experienced a really mild spray of tear gas. It wasn't really effective to where people had to cover up and move, but it was one of those burn your nose. You could definitely tell the tear gas was in the air, and they batons. We've seen people get beat up, actual fist fights with the police, one-sided fist fights because they're helpless. They're being held down by several officers while one officer knees them in the face, punches people in the face. We've literally seen cops on top of somebody in a full mount, punching somebody in the back of their head while they're trying to be in a fetal position, or hitting them with the baton because they can't get their arm back because there's one officer on it this way and another officer. Like, we've been through a whole repertoire of police brutality since August 9th.
Hands up! Don't shoot! Hands up! Don't shoot! This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. Don't shoot! Don't shoot!
This is an unlawful assembly. Please disperse or you will be subject to arrest.
Hands up! Hands up! Hands up! They think it's a game! They think it's a game!
United we stand! United we stand!
You got whites and blacks out here standing against your ass because you've been wrong. That's what's going on. We united. Power to the people. You're gonna have all these white police officers in black districts. That you can believe. That day is over. That day is over. The police officers are gonna reflect the community. We paying taxes for you to beat us and lynch us. How long do you think this is gonna last? Not goddamn long at all. Some of us are gonna die. And we ready to die. That's real. That's real. Because we know you're killing us anyway.
We fighting for our lives. You know, it's just that simple. Because I don't want to go to the store and hoping I don't get shot over a Rello or over a sandwich. So shoot, I'm out here. And plus, I don't want to have no kids living this kind of life. You know, I don't want them having to think the same thoughts I do. I want them to do better. You know, so until then, we still stay out here.
Because this is something that we've been facing our entire lives. It's not like this is something that all of a sudden we experienced when Mike Brown died. Right. Mike Brown just really sparked like this, enough is enough, you know what I'm saying? So we out here because some of us got kids already, kids on the way, family members, friends that we care about, and we really want systemic change, and we understand that the only way that's gonna happen is if we put in the effort to obtaining that change. So that's why we're out here every single day and night trying to get our point across. The major difference between us and the big local orgs is we're really about systemic change. We feel like a lot of the other orgs are only about highlighting social issues when they arrive to generate funds or to push their agendas for environmental change and these other things. But the thing that sparked this whole thing was this movement was a black and white issue. It was black people crying out, standing out in the streets because they felt like they had no other option to be vocal besides standing in the street. Some people felt maybe it was throwing a brick through a building. Some felt it was standing in the street on their hands and knees with their hands up. Many different methods, you know what I'm saying? But it was the only avenue for people to be vocal. And the difference with, we're really about it, you know what I'm saying? As you can see, or as you've experienced since you've been here, this weekend is supposed to be a weekend about resistance. And if you participated in any of the big orgs events for this weekend, there were no resistance. There were police escorted, police permitted events. Unlike ours are grassroots. We really want to put boots on the ground and implement change ourselves, you know what I'm saying? And we've been doing so. And we're looking for the confrontation with the police. It doesn't always have to be physical on our end, but we want them to show how they are, you know what I'm saying? And the local orgs, their methods are not, they're not about doing that, you know what I'm saying?
We're not taking anything! We're not stealing anything! Let's try that motherfucker out! Let's try that motherfucker out! You can't stop the revolution!
Tighten up.
A lot of the youth that's been involved on the ground, we all have goals, and they're clear. A lot of we're intelligent and we're moving strategically, and the only thing that we lack for moving to the next level is the resources. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us believe in service in the community. That's the real way to build our economical status, and at the end of the day, reaching Black liberation. We're gonna have to be able to service our community. You know what I'm saying? But it's hard to do that when you don't have the resources. If I don't have enough money to sustain myself, if I don't have resources coming in to sustain my life and my movement, how can I possibly have any time to
invest in someone else's life and show them that this is how you do it. You know what I'm saying? This is what we got to do. How can I really service them if I don't have the facility to do so? I don't have the time because I got to be at work to raise money so I can pay for these bills. I got my cell phone, house, girl got to eat, kids on the way. You know what I'm saying? Like there's other things, other variables right now that we have to deal with that necessarily, they wouldn't be a problem. They wouldn't necessarily be a problem if we had the resources. But those resources, like he said, never get trickled down to the boots on the ground. You know what I'm saying? They use the boots on the ground for the image that they put on their flyers and things like that, and the energy. We help them out in that area, but they don't help us out in return by using their privilege and their resources to push our goals. They just use our image.
You got kids? Y'all gonna have kids one day if y'all don't. And I'm gonna pray for them, especially if they look like me. Because this is a target you can't get rid of. Brother.
Since Mike Brown died, you know, it's been a lot of the same faces of the clergy trying to get in front of the crowd, you know, trying to make it look like they, you know, the ones. And even when us people, like, you know, Tribex, Lost Voices and whatnot, when we decided to do this slew operation, we had a couple of clergy members that were trying to tell us what to do. We like, hold on, bro. We didn't tell you what to do when you was doing you. So don't come over here trying to, you know, like gone somewhere with that. You know, the fact that they even trying to put religion into this, that's what's gonna separate us, because that's what separated us before we got here to America. And now I'm going way back. Peep this. Africa was all good before religion came. European religion came. You know, that divided and conquered. You know, so what do you think that's gonna do now? You know, those same people that's saying, oh, don't be violent, don't do this, don't do that. Them the exact people that's gonna snuff out this movement that we just got going. And we can't afford to do that because it's time for change. It's 2014, bro. Why are we still living like we in the fucking 50s and shit? You know, and slavery wasn't that long ago either. So if you put all that to perspective, you got to understand and know who you're dealing with and make sure the right people are where they're supposed to be, and check the people who are detrimental to this whole cause, because at the end of the day, they really are detrimental.
Now, I want to give a shout out to Lost Voices, Young Millennials,
November, you were sick, man.
The Freedom Fighters,
Lost Voices.
All our comrades.
We cannot forget the individual group, the individual people, the unknowns that I had mentioned earlier, which would be Netta, Bree, Wes. Help me out, y'all. It's more than that. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of people on the ground here who are not necessarily affiliated.
Tina Turner,
Dred Hampton, who are not in the group, but they are out here every day. You know what I'm saying? So we definitely want to keep that up. We can't forget about nobody.
Pretty Deja been holding it down for the Lost Voices.
This is a leaderless movement. You know what I'm saying? We all on the same ground. Everybody you've been seeing.
Shout out to Nina too.
We organized. Oh yeah, you seen it. We right here on Slew. Drinking coffee in a tent. You know what I'm saying? 2014, one of the whitest schools I've ever stepped foot on in my life. And we out here. This is ours. We claimed it. We claimed it.
I just want to say this. We ain't on no violence and debauchery and stuff like that, but I mean, it's really real out here, and it can get really real. And like as far as like all these different groups and stuff like that, it's not about division. We do come together like transphobes as one big monster. And you know, honestly, if they don't give us our shit, we will shut this shit down. Like, I mean, I just gotta keep it real.
I feel more.
They don't give us our shit.
We gonna shut shit down.
They don't give us our shit.
We gonna shut the shit down.
They don't give us our shit.
We gonna shut the shit down.
They say move back, we say fight back, move back.
Fight back!
Move back!
Fight 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 back!
Racism means we got to fight back!
Racism means we got to fight back! Racism means we got to fight back!
Say racism means
we got to fight back!
Fight back!
Fight back! Fight back! Fight back!
Fight back!
Fight back! Fight back! Fight back!
We do this, we turn up, don't turn down.
We do this for my ground!
We turn up, don't turn down.
We do this for my ground!
We turn up, don't turn down.
We do this for my ground!
We turn up, don't turn down.
We do this for my ground!
Turn up, don't turn down.
We do
thankful for all the support that we've gotten thus far. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate all of that. And I appreciate the support that we're gonna start to get from people. The revolution would not be televised, like you said. You're out here getting this because people didn't know. You know what I'm saying? So please do your best. Put in put in another step. You know what I'm saying? And a little bit more time to finding out what's going on here and how you can help, and how we can help you guys as well. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of different things that we can do and offer to help people who are not necessarily down here as well. So whenever you're communicating with us and asking us what we want, also let us know what y'all are getting into as well and how we can build together. Yeah, we need to make this one big umbrella that's the real deal, that we control, that it's not co-opted. You know what I'm saying? So it's not just about people giving to us. You know what I'm saying? We want to make this a real thing that's gonna last. You know what I'm saying? And the only way that can last is if this is a mutual beneficial relationship. You know what I'm saying? And that's crucial. Yeah.
The whole damn system is guilty as hell.
He has been deceased for 4 days now. That ain't right. And right now we are going to have 4 minutes of silence for Von Derek Myers.
But also, you gotta remember, ignorance is bliss. So do it to your own discretion, because it might fuck your life up.
Whoop, whoop, that's the sound of the police. Whoop, whoop, that's the sound of the beast. Whoop, whoop, that's the sound of the police. Whoop, whoop, that's the sound of the beast. Whoop, whoop, that's the sound of the police. Whoop, whoop, that's the sound of the beast.
I'm just telling you, the slew is the occupation. That's how people want to know about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we were just going to talk about the arrest.
And then, even briefly, because I've personally told the story about me getting arrested.
So one of the biggest things about us getting arrested essentially was, as far as like a strategic move, was the fact that Lost Voices, Tribex, they had all been getting arrested time after time after time again. And the fact that they've been marching for 68 days and all this stuff has been happening to them shows that their lives aren't valued. And we made a decision to use our privilege as college students, as folks not from St. Louis, to get arrested because we knew that would bring the cameras and the news would show that. It's something different when you have folks from out of town getting arrested and getting into trouble, and now you're bringing more attention because parents are trying to figure out where their kids are and all that kind of stuff. So when we sat there, we made a decision and we decided to get arrested. And it's interesting because one of the things we had in the car, me and Natajah Makia had.
We said it already.
Oh, you said it? Okay. Well, you know that conversation we had. So we were tightened up, and I saw what happened to Anansa, and then they were on Makia, and the cops were trying to use Makia, threatening her well-being in order to have me let her go.
They said if you don't let her go, we're gonna beat her. They said we're gonna beat her up if you don't let her go. As they had my hair in their hands, and that just so you know.
And I looked over to Makia. After Natajah, she's like, look him in the eye, look him in the eye. The cops can't look us in the eye, which is something interesting as well. But it's like, I looked over at Makia, and I'm waiting for her to give me the nod to say, let me go, and she never does it. So I'm like, well, she didn't give me permission, so I can't let her go. And that goes to our point of how powerful the transformation this was for me about understanding women's rights and the rights they have and things like that, where she made a decision, and until she tells me otherwise, I have to do what she says. Right. And that's what I did.
Just to give just a little the factual information, so we can get on to slew. So after that they grabbed her by my hair, they kind of punched me in my head, they'd hit me in the face with a baton, took me by my hair, threw me on the ground. More than one, a whole bunch of cops just got on me. I couldn't breathe. I'm yelling it. He said you could hear me. I didn't think anybody could hear me because they sure didn't. And then, you know, they did all that kind of stuff, flipped me over, landed on my arms, and just a small joke kind of, they were like, get up. And I was like, you just beat me, you just sat on me, you just hit me in the face, and you think this is going to be easy? I was like, I can't. And so I made all 5 of them pick my fat ass up. So, y'all gonna pick me up, because you definitely did not just disrespect me and beat me and all kinds of stuff for me sitting down in front of a gas station, and I'm gonna make this easy for you. Right, so that's really all the like, you know, for the factional. After that, you know, we got arrested, kept there 16 hours, didn't eat for 12, moved to some county to city jail. You know, they threatened us, threatened Adrian, saying they weren't gonna let him out. Like, you know, I'm gonna lose your stuff to, you know, he said that he's gonna lose his stuff and keep him in the system.
So, because I wouldn't give them my social security number, I said, I don't feel comfortable giving you that information, whatnot, and the third, and he said, you know what, I don't have time to play with you. If you don't give me your information right now, I'm going to lose all your paperwork and you're going to be stuck in this system. And I looked over to them, and there were 3 cops, and I said, are you about to tell me that you are about to deliberately lose my stuff and just have me somewhere? They turned to me simultaneously and said, yes.
They do that here, honey.
And right, and it's just,
we were never read our rights.
We were never read our rights, nothing.
All the women got there first, and we, you know, as we're waiting to be searched or whatever's going to happen, someone finally speaks up and is like, when do I get my phone call? Because we all knew we were on the same page about what we were doing. And he's like, it's a privilege, that's not a right. We look at the wall, and there's a list of rights, and it's like, all detainees have the right to a phone call. He's like, that doesn't apply here. That's a privilege, that's not a right. And it's like, all right, you can keep fucking with us. You see where that's going to get you later when we go to court. But it was just constant.
And it's crazy because while they were booking them and this stuff, they left us in the van in the garage for like an hour and a half waiting for them to get their stuff done. So they were just, the level to which they were trying to mess with us psychologically by separating us, not letting us know where anyone was, not letting us know when we were ever going to get out or anything like that.
Lying to us blatantly and telling us we were going to be there overnight and more.
And there was a time where me and a couple other brothers were sitting around just kind of talking about how we could fix our communities with economics and things like that, and just kind of help the movement grow in the cells. Then they got us all out and they put us in individual cells. They didn't even want us doing that. So but then once we got moved to the correctional facility downtown, it's interesting. I just want to point this out real quick that once we got there, we saw the warden and we saw some guy the mayor had sent down from the commissioner from the Department of Justice. And that's when I personally knew that somebody was in trouble and it wasn't us. Because if I've known anything about working, that people in suits and the people at the higher up do not come into a facility and start doing work unless someone is on their ass. And that's how I knew what we had done had worked.
Right. That, you know, it was an experience, and getting arrested, it's, you know, we're not victims in the sense because we went down there and we had a job to do. You know, one of the things that we talked about a lot with Daruba was, you know, we believe in solidarity over charity. So we were just going to be there just to get arrested for that one night while they've been here now 70 days. So that really was just, you know, so it's not really about us. It really is about Tribex and the Lost Voices and freedom fighters and, you know, all of the youth down there, because they've been doing this, and this was rough for me. I mean, it's going to take me a while to shake the spirits off my back from getting arrested, and I can only imagine what's going on with them, how they're dealing with it. And I'm so happy that we were there to share that with them, and that they have people up here like Rosemary and Ricardo that have their back, and that they can have other parental figures in their lives as well. One thing is that did happen the next day was a very huge protest that we weren't able to be a part of after getting arrested, having not have slept for days, not eating and such. So Ricardo could definitely talk more about that.
But it was the same day that
Right,
you got out. It was the same day because I sat out in front of the jail waiting on y'all to get out. Me and Noel and
they all came out to visit us before they had
Tribex. We said we was gonna be there for y'all. So we missed the concert, all these famous rappers everybody was supposed to go to. We missed that. So we said we'd go catch the, by the time they got out, we said we'd go catch the Cornell thing. But you got over there and they had like 10 people booked ahead of him. So so everybody in there really got upset, started coming out. A lot of people didn't come out. Maybe 20 people came out, but the word was, it was bullshit up in there. Jess and Paul came out, because I never went in. I was just standing there, and somebody said, Ricardo. I looked over, it was Jess and, our own Jess and Paul. You know, Deruba said, what's going on over there? He said, we got small numbers at ground zero. I said, people ain't really feeling this crowd. He said, I'll be right over. Came over with the bullhorn, and when waited till they came out, people started coming out. He said, because the next day is the day of civil disobedience, the scheduled day of civil disobedience. That Monday, and because this is Sunday, and Deruba said to all you people that came from around the country, talking about you're gonna do some, you down with civil disobedience, and if you didn't like what you just heard in there, come to Shaw right now. He said, if you don't want no civil disobedience, please don't come over here. We're gonna have enough without you. And people weren't feeling it. It was like something was missing. Man, they had a couple thousand people over there. Put the word out that we was going to Shack, some kind of, it's not the same gas station, but it's another same style. Put the word out, you know the word's gonna get back. So they can post up and block and preempt us. And the plan was, we got so many people, Deruba decided to split us up. Half on one side of the street, half on the other side of the street. One group marched this way, one group marched this way. So they can't stack up their resources. And I mean, we marched for 2-3 hours. We stopped at corners playing with ball, playing the hopscotch, getting on their nerve, blocking traffic. And then we met up. They met up with us. And you just had to be there to feel it, to see it, because they told my group that was in the front, they said, make a hole. And so we had to make a hole. And it's like over 1,000 of us there. And here comes Deruba, pushing the boy's mother through the crowd. And he's got over 1,000 people following him. And now they still don't know where we're going. They think we're going past the university to that Shaples or whatever the name of it is. And we walk another block, then a big old Suburban pulls up and Cornell jumps out. And the media run all over to him, and we keep marching. And we get to the front of St. Louis University, and the police are lined up all the way down the street. And we turn at the entrance and stop at the entrance. And they're like looking like, why are they going in here? And then he says, mic check. Deruba says, mic check. And the guy next to him says, I am a St. Louis University student. And these are all my guests. You know, so they officially can't stop us right there. And so we all go in there, and the mother speaks, Deruba speaks, and the mother speaks, and then we have 4.5 minutes of silence, and they say we're going to occupy this, and we're there to get arrested. But when we see that we're going to get a different reaction, they're like dumbfounded. I mean, I can't even touch on the brilliance of this, man. It was brilliant. It really was brilliant. This private school. And when we get there, some students are looking out their windows with disgust, but a lot of students was running out there to join us, man. You know, and me and Youssef, I'm telling you, not only did I not get much sleep, 10 or 11 hours in the 5 days, neither did he. We both had been so tired because we marched like 5 hours. It was at that moment, both of us, man, caught our second win, man, because we was just so proud of the moment, of the genius of what Deruba had did there. He had got us in the right position and did a powerful thing. He said, we occupying this, we ain't going nowhere, so get ready, because y'all got to come in here and get us. And they're still there right now as we speak. And I need to say this, man. I I really need to say this because this is important, man. Deruba is no human can sustain at the pace he's going, man. He's operating off of 1.5 hours sleep every other day, for real. I mean, I literally mean that. I'm trying to get him over here. One of the main reasons I'm trying to get him over here is to get some rest. 2 days rest, for real, I swear to God. You know, he can get up and do a presentation and go places, but the man needs some rest. He really do, and he can't get it there. He has no moment of privacy. He's staying in a motel now he's staying in a slough. Now he's staying in a slough. Yeah, in the tent. In the tent that y'all set up. They couldn't be there at the beginning of the slough thing, but the next day, organized, they supposed to have been gone already the day before. They kept staying, and they just did a lot. They held the signs and empowered the students to come for Q&A engagement with the students. And it was powerful. There was a powerful reaction. There's like over 500 people, students, there that night as a result of y'all, the work that y'all put in there. And what I just need to say this because Deruba's going to come here, regardless, whether or not you respond to what I say or not. We getting Deruba here. And because the shit that he got is contagious. It's contagious. It will rub off, man. I'm telling you to rub off. And having said that, I gonna work it out anyway, but I swear to God, we need help getting him here, man. And we ain't trying to even fly him here. We're just trying to get him 2 train tickets, man. And if you need him to come do something, or speak or something at your place, even that'll work. But I need to get him here because it's important that he gets some rest. He can stay at my place. The U of R is available, but he's going to stay at my house. Him and his pregnant partner. She's like 6 months pregnant. They both cut their hair. I just, because nobody can tell it the way this young man is doing. And he's the most unselfish man. Let me tell you something, to be honest. There's a lot of money floating into St. Louis. A lot. It ain't none of it touching Tribex. None of the Millennia, Tribex, Freedom Fighters, ain't none of it touching them because they're not going along with the program. The first time they felt anything, any resources, is since they've been on occupying slough. And it's been a lot of students and the students' parents, some of the staff. Now they have been they've been providing the tents, the blankets, the food, and they've got people calling in too from out of town ordering food for them. But prior to this, they've never felt anything, any support. And I'm asking you, man, please help me get him here, man. Please help me get that brother over here, man. I mean, my family's already spent a lot of money, probably more than we need to. We're going to do what we have to. But if you can, I don't want nobody to put themselves, get evicted over trying to do this. But if you can, man, please, man, miss the move. Don't go to eat the dinner, man. Help me, man. I'm just trying to get the brother over here, man. Thank you. Yeah, I'm down, man.
And then we're just doing a couple of things right now, so if you want to donate, the money's going to go for bringing Deruba drugs.
So I just wanted to say something because I got a little bit of a view about what was happening on Sunday from Dante and from some other folks that were down there, particularly my partner in crime. I don't know if y'all got to meet him, Maurice Brown, Drew with the dress. He was kind of in charge of all the logistics of all that other stuff. One of the things that is absolutely essential for people to understand is that people in Ferguson do not trust the established organizations. Right. Yeah. Absolutely not. And that includes unions, that includes CBTU, that includes the NAACP. On Sunday, There were young people that stood up when the new president of the NAACP was speaking, Mr. Brooks, because Benjella's been gone, that stood up and turned their backs on him. Literally turned their backs on him and said, look, you haven't been here with us. And the reality is that people are not, you know, buying this whole organizational movement. It's really about the real deal, and the raw deal is where these guys were at, is where Daruba's at, is where the Lost Voices is at. Those are the real deal. Because in the end of the day, the established organizations have not been there to change people's lives the way that they need to be. And that is the reality. And guess what, folks? It happens here. And I want you to think about that. It happens here. So when we're out there and we're supporting this organization and that organization, why aren't we supporting organizations like B.L.A.C.K? Why aren't we supporting organizations that are really doing something? And it's not that unions are bad or anything like that. Come on, I got the freaking Friends of Labor Award. Like, I love unions, right, and what they stand for and what they represent. The last thing that I want to say was, like, there was a little bit of that ageism stuff that goes on. Remember what we said? I said it when I came up here. The movement is not going to look and feel the same way that it did back in the Civil Rights Movement. You got another thing coming. They're going to have them big things in their ears. They're going to have tattoos all over the face. They're going to have their pants sagging. And we're going to be hip-hop, bebop the whole damn time. And that's exactly what was going on down there. And the reality is that there's got to be respect both ways. You know what I mean? There's got to be some respect going on both ways. But this was a young people's movement. It's like Ricardo said, we got to step back and allow the young people to move up and to lead us the way that they should be leading us, because they are feeling it. Dante's pain is real. I sat with that brother whose mother, you know, who I know his real personal story, and I'm not finna share it here because that's his thing to share. But that pain that that young man, that these young ladies, that Loki, that Deja, that Daruba, that all of them have been through is incredible. Our children right here in Rochester go through trauma on a daily basis. I walked into a school 42 to pick up my grandson the other day, and the little girl on my way up to pick up my grandson tells me, I got shot at yesterday. And I'm going, excuse me? And this is right here in Rochester, lives on Emerson Street, didn't know me from a hole in the wall, and is telling me, I'm talking about the whole damn system is guilty. I'm talking about, if you read that book about Jonathan Kozol, where was it set? East Missouri. Where is it set? It's set in places like Missouri, where the KKK is absolutely still active, and I'm not talking about fighting the ACLU trying to march in a parade. I'm talking about active. I'm talking about active. I'm talking about what should white people do. You know, when you're talking about, there's a lot of things that white people can do, but you got to do it within your own. I can't go there. I'm Puerto Rican. I wish I was down there because they pepper sprayed me. Believe me, I've been pepper sprayed before, and it didn't really work, and people kept trying to figure out why it don't work, and then the next day the DNC had an article about, you know, why Puerto Ricans are kind of immune to pepper spray. I swear to God, that pepper spray shit did not work in the Monroe County Jail on my ass. They had to put on that thing. I kept going. I wish I was down there with you. I swear to God. But we got to do something different. And one of the reasons, I need to be clear about one of the reasons that I didn't go back down. Because I am part of the established organizations. I am part of Citizen Action, Metro Justice, and the unions, and all of this stuff for years. And I came back with a lot of personal conflict about who the hell are we freaking really organizing? Who the hell are we really reaching out to? Who are we really doing this kind of work with? Because are we only doing it with the creme de la creme? Because at the end of this day, St. Louis may burn. I hate to say this, but people are not truly ready to understand that when this man gets off, because all things point to the fact, to me, that he gonna get off. And people are going to burn. And somebody going to get really hurt out there in St. Louis. Somebody is really going to get hurt. But it's going to be another example. And the more times people come to your door talking about, come on, let's go fight for 15, and we done bled and everything else, I'ma slam that damn door in your face. You talk about voter registration, voter who? I ain't gonna vote for shit after that because it ain't changing nothing. This is a real turning point in Missouri, and it's a turning point in this country, and we have got to be vigilant with our own because this whole damn system is guilty. Honey, what they did to you, they done did that to me plenty of times because y'all know I was in prison, I was in jail. They will lose your ass in there. You will stay in there. And that's all I got to say, but thank you. Sorry.
And if you didn't see the video, that I think Yusef had posted it and somebody else posted it. But I was standing out there, me and Noel was standing out there the whole time. The first person to come out was that white guy. And that tall white guy. And that guy, I swear to God, he was acting like some of the students were at SLU, because some of the students at SLU didn't embrace the occupation. They would walk by and pretend like that was the encampment and occupation had always been there, so they didn't even notice it. How can you walk by and not notice it? That's how that first tall guy came out of there, and me and Yusef said this white guy, he was arrested, and he said this, he ain't never coming back. He ain't gonna get on no front line or nothing. But when y'all came out, when they came out singing. Instead of crying, I thought I was gonna have to hug them and, all this kumbaya stuff. They came out singing.
You can't stop
the revolution. You can't stop the revolution. You can't stop the revolution. I'm so proud of them, man.
I'm so proud of you guys. Thank you for going down. Yeah, I didn't even know about last words. I mean, I guess we got time for questions too, but I wanted to make a point before we started. I know I'm going to let everyone else give a statement too, but a lot of people have asked me, like, oh, so what happened? Like, how'd you get arrested? Like, what was that like? And it's been frustrating for me for the last couple of days because it was a big moment and it was really empowering for one. There's no mistake about that. This was not a victimizing point in my life. It was literally the most empowering thing I've ever done in my life. Although it was still the second scariest thing I've done in my life compared to walking to that Cardinals game. And I will say that because we can look at cops and clearly they're not responsible for themselves, but our lives were not necessarily valued or nobody would have been responsible if something would have happened to us at that game either. And this whole trip has changed me and it's been very hard. I mean, like Rosemary was saying about being part of big organizations, like it's been really hard to come back and to think I want to do anything except what I can do on my own. And I don't know what I'm going to do next, but it's probably going to make a lot of people mad, and it's probably going to annoy a lot of people, and I might lose some people over this, but there's something different. There's something different going on, and I'm not going to pretend that it doesn't matter. I'm not going to pretend I don't see it. I'm not going to water it down. I'm not going to do things the way people are telling me to do from now on.
This whole trip and everything for me wasn't, it didn't affect me in the same way it affected these ladies. This was really just an educational thing for me as far as understanding how powerful, well, I don't know everything yet, but understanding how powerful women are. So I address them as my super women because my final revelation came to, and my mama's sitting in the audience, I gotta think, that's my number one super woman. Love that lady. My number one revelation came to when we were in jail, and I didn't, to me that whole experience felt like I had taken a double shift and I shouldn't have, and I was waiting to get off the whole time. But he asked if I wanted to go to the bathroom, and I said yeah, and there was like throw up all over the toilet, and I was like, oh, this is gross. So I'm like, I'm not gonna sit down, and I said I had to do number 2, and I was like, damn. I was like, I have to squat, and then I started squatting, and I said, oh shit, I had remembered all the times my mom said, she was like, don't ever use a public bathroom, you have to squat. And I said, I'm not gonna squat, I have the privilege of, standing up and peeing and stuff. And then I was like, this is what they have to do every single day. Oh, shit. And that, another one, a combination of things, like these women laid down, they were ready to go for me. And I'm like, Makia says something profound again, and she always says, when I tell you something, you should just believe me. You should respect me enough to believe me. And if you need any clarification, you go do the research yourself, because it's out there. And then you come back and we can have a conversation. And that's how I've taken that too, where that's how we treated the Lost Voices Tribex, where we're down here to support you. And what support means is we wait for you to tell us how we can assist you. And when we say that young people are leading this movement, the challenge I would say to all older people is that you should, when we tell you what our experiences are, we shouldn't have to validate them to you.
Say it again.
We should not have to validate them to you. We know it. We've lived it. We have similarities, but that's you should be here to support us, and you should be here to follow us and pour into us. Like when Brother EJ said, you know, there are a lot of people who try to come to these movements and then work their way to the front. Like if you're really here to support us, you should be here pushing us, giving us the resources we need so that we can make our voices heard and we can keep fueling this movement. So that's all I have to say. This was an incredible experience. I will never forget it. I can't wait to go back. There's a lot we can do around here because, again, we face some of the same problems. We have over 100 non-for-profit organizations around here, and they're all attacking the same problems. At the same time, we are one of the third poorest city in the country. We have the worst graduation rate, and you telling me everybody else has a job and they're supposed to be fixing this problem? They're not trying to fix this problem. They are trying to, again, make money off other people's suffering. I'm tired of it, and we are, through B.L.A.C.K, we are going to do the work that's necessary. We are going to empower people. Right, no more poverty pimps.
Last words. One of the biggest things that I took from this, everything that they said, so I'm not going to repeat that. One of the biggest things I took was confidence in my own ability as an organizer, as a speaker. One of the things when we were at Occupy SLU, the Monday that we were supposed to leave, that we kept saying we're going to leave, 1 more hour we're going to leave, 1 more hour we're going to leave. And I'm speaking to these 2 white girls, and they are so enthralled by what I have to say, and I am teaching them everything about how to talk to someone who is just obviously not listening to you, who may be racist, who may be sexist, who may be all these other things, and I realize that they are truly listening to me, and they're talking, and they're like, well, how long are you going to be here? I'm like, actually, I'm trying to get out of here right now. And so that in that moment, as Ricardo said, we just got to work that Monday, just doing things. I used my experience as a student and as a student organizer to relate to these students and get them to start working for Jaruba and them, because Jaruba and them were so tired, and these people are looking at them and they're not really wanting to talk to them. They kind of sit on the outside, and I was like, y'all need to start doing something. You are not about to just take pictures here. You're gonna be, if you want to support, you're gonna be a supporter. And so one of the biggest things I took from this was that kind of confidence and that feeling of empowerment, that I realized that the young people, we kind of sit around and just wait to figure out who's gonna tell us, we're mad about something, but no one feels empowered enough to actually do something about it. We kind of keep thinking that there's going to be this leader that's just going to come up and they're going to do it. And we have to realize that we are the leaders. We are the ones who are going to do it. And so that has changed for me. And my friends can tell you I am different when I'm still at U of R. I'm still at this big, very white institution, and I'm not taking any mess from anybody. I get upset about something.
Please tell me about the picture.
Okay, so just a small thing. It gave me life. So on our campus at the University Health Service, they everyone's scared of Ebola, and so they add this sign last week apparently that says if you've traveled to Africa, as if it's like in the last 21 days, please come see the receptionist. Now someone posted this on Facebook, and people are upset about it and they're mad, and I'm like, for what? Like, did they really just do that? Did they really just act like Africa's like this one place, this continent with like over 50 different countries, and as if like Africa is just full of disease, just everything? Not like, why not say Dallas? Why not say any of these other places? Right? Why not say that? Why not just say United States of America? It was in Spain. Exactly. So it's like, right, and United States is actually a country. So exactly. So those things. And so Anansa and I were talking about it a little bit, and we're like, we should just like, someone should put like a sign over there, just like, if you've been racist in the last 21 months, 21 days, you should quit your job. Like, so I did it. Yeah, right. And so so I put the sign up there. I posted it on the U of R, Facebook page. So a whole bunch of students got talking about it. Got 300 people looking at it. People are mad, of course. And don't read the comments. Don't ever read the comments. But the fact was just sparking that fire. What you guys did for us. When we went into Ferguson and we got that little piece of life, and we're just finding a place came back here to plant that seed. And so that was one of the things we did. And then we were like, something? It's Mellior Weekend. It's homecoming for U of R, if anyone doesn't know. And we're like, there's going to be so many rich white people here. And I bet they don't know one thing about Ferguson right now. They don't know about the people we're hurting in Ferguson. So we were like, let's just put up signs to let them know. So I have people putting up signs around campus, talking about Mike Brown, talking about black people, talking about the 19th Ward, talking about that black people matter. That black people matter in Rochester, black people matter in Ferguson, black people matter everywhere. And we just wanted to put them up. And of course, they're going to try and take them down. That's like 2 o'clock. And so we're having a rally at U of R in the main campus, Library Road. We're just going to do a kind of like 45-minute hour march because there's so many people there. And we just want to let them know that there are people who care. There are people who are holding you accountable. With everything they're doing in the 19th Ward, their college town and everything, we recognize what they're doing to the people around here. All the gentrification. And we want to let them know that students and people in the community are seeing them. They are not invisible. And Ferguson helped do that for me. Give me that power to do that and not to be afraid and not to need to ask anybody if this is a good idea or not. So that's my last many words.
And the marches, 1 o'clock in front of Rusheries.
Yep.
Can I just shout out real quick to Mama Melanie Funches, real quick, sitting right here. We came back and there was a lot that we were working through. And me and Makia had went to this event at Mocha, and we just happened to run into, there's no such thing as coincidence, and we ran into her, and it was our destiny too. And we all ended up coming back together yesterday, and she just... It's good. One of the biggest things we've had coming back here is that when we're explaining this story, there's so many people who haven't had this experience. And again, it's that whole validation thing, and it's this whole I have to explain how this means something, but she gets it, and she is the healer of the group, because after you're going through an experience like that, you need to be healed before you can go and do some more work. So thank you for yesterday. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
I have like a long time to think about this. So my intentions for going out, I have 2 brothers, 2 younger brothers. I'm the oldest child, and I take pride in that. I have 2 beautiful black brothers. They are tall, they like Skittles, they like walk around with hoods on, they like cigarettes. No, they are, and the thing is, when we were down there, I saw my brothers, and every brother I saw down there, I saw my brothers, and it was like, these are my brothers. And we actually became really close to the dudes that we were working with. But for me personally, I never knew that I could learn and grow so quickly. So me being the youngest one out of the group, the least experienced with a lot of these things, I learned from these people. So Monday, right, we was working on Monday. Everything that somebody did, I did. So when Natajah was like working with the 10, later on I found myself working with the 10. Adrian was like going around here. You wasn't wasting your breath. I understand what you was doing, but he was really telling people why this matters. What, things like we had the flag upside down, and of course a lot of white people coming up like, what is this? What is this? Adrian was like, "That's my brother. You don't need to do this. You can calm down." Later on, I found myself with Makia talking to white people about why it matters. And then Makia in the beginning is getting students mobilized, making signs. Later on, I found myself with Makia again laminating signs. So now these signs are permanent in like the student offices, and it's just like I just picked up so much. And then from being in jail, I've never learned so many first and last names and put those to faces quicker than I did. Because we had to, because the thing is we were split up. So it was like, we need to know, if 4 of us are leaving, who's down there, what's their first name, what's their last name. Because the police were idiots. They were idiots. They were like, oh, who's in here? Like, you don't know who's in here, sir? You arrested us? What is going on? And so I just learned a lot, and I grew so much, and I grew to be a lot more analytical. And then like after this, coming back and seeing things, I think about things differently, and I like that about myself. And I just learned I think the most important thing that I learned that it is my and this is it, guys, it's our duty to fight, and it's our duty to win. That's what I learned. I think like that's like the biggest thing I took back. Is that it's our duty to fight. It's our duty to win.
And we have nothing to lose but our chains.
And we have nothing to lose but our chains. At this point, I got a record. I'm trying to go to grad school. I'm trying to do all these things. I ain't got nothing to lose now. What they gonna say? Like, those are my last words.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Question? Question?
Who do you serve? Who do you protect? 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 Who do you serve? Who do you protect?
They don't give us our shit.
We gonna shut shit down.
They don't give us our shit.
We gonna shut the shit down.
They don't give us our shit.
We gonna shut the shit down.
Fight back! Fight back! Fight back! Fight back! Racism means we got to fight back! Racism means we got to fight back! Racism means we got to fight back! Say racism means we got to fight back! 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 Fight back!